UFC 248 Adesanya versus Romero has come to a close, and we are left with the same question that we are left with every single time a fight card is over. What is next? And that will be the question that we will ask for an eternity in the MMA community. What next? What next? What next? The MMA guru's going to tell you what fucking next. Starting with the prelims, we're going to go through every single fight, giving you guys the opponents I would like to see the winners and losers take on next. Starting with Gerald Meerschaert versus Nguyen, because we don't care about the early prelims, we'll start with some substance. Gerald Meerschaert, big win against Nguyen. Ironic, I know, but he finished him in the third round. Very impressive performance. I would like to see Gerald Meerschaert take on Rodolfo Vieira. That's what I want to see. Both guys fighting on the same card. They have a similar schedule right now. Both guys coming off submission wins. Both guys arguably on win streaks right now. I mean, Gerald Meerschaert, in my opinion, has won his last 4 fights in a row. So, you know, take that as you will. Even though he's 1-3 in his last 4 fights, I think he's won 4 in a row. Rodolfo Vieira is putting together a nice little streak in the middleweight division. Let's square off these two guys together. They're both jiu-jitsu guys. Gerald Meerschaert's got great jiu-jitsu. He's a huge middleweight. I think he could pose some problems to Rodolfo Vieira. And not to mention, Gerald Meerschaert is incredibly experienced. I think that'll be a great fight to happen next. So Gerald Meerschaert versus Rodolfo Vieira, maybe on the prelims of the McGregor card. I want to keep Rodolfo Vieira active because he is an old man. And I want to make the most of him while he's still got a back that functions him well. Saparbek Safarov, lost in the middleweight division. He could fight Nguyen in a loser goes home situation. That's the ultimatum. But I would rather see Nguyen go down to the welterweight division where he fucking belongs, because he's too small for the middleweight division, and I'll say it time and time again, go down to the welterweight division, take on a guy who's coming off some losses, maybe Nguyen versus Mike fucking Perry. Who knows? Nguyen versus Mike Perry on the prelims of the McGregor card as the loser goes home situation. Sign me the fuck up. Nguyen versus Mike Perry is the fight I want to see next, and that covers the 2 first fights on the prelims. Moving on. Rodolfo Vieira, Meerschaert, Safarov win, or Win versus Perry. I'm going with Win versus Perry. I think that's a much more entertaining fight in the welterweight division where Nguyen's small, tiny ass belongs. Mark Madsen versus Austin Hubbard. Amazing performance from Mark. Not amazing. I almost got lured into it. It wasn't quite so amazing. It was a tough fight. They went back and forth. A tough fight enough because Austin Hubbard didn't have to take this fight. And he did it for the UFC, so I feel like he's kind of earned himself another chance. I like Austin Hubbard. I think he put on a good performance, and he wasn't supposed to make it that difficult. Still 28 years of age. I mean, he was coming off a win. Now he's lost. Give him another chance in the UFC and let him take on maybe a guy such as the guy that Luis Pena just beat. Antonio Carlos... No. I will remember his name. Let me find out his name. Luis Pena defeated a man named Steve Garcia Jr. Steve Garcia Jr. versus the guy Austin Hubbard. Steve Garcia Jr. versus Austin Hubbard, okay? Fucking hell. I finally got it out of my fucking mouth. Jesus Christ, I'm retarded. Austin Hubbard versus Steve Garcia Jr. Make that fucking fight happen. I'm looking forward to it. Mark Madsen, I believe, should take on a little bit of a test. I want to see him take on Lando fucking Venata at UFC Sweden. Because I know we're going to Sweden, because Gustafsson's not retired yet, because he's still in the USADA testing pool, and he's still in the rankings, and Özdemir's calling him out. Gustafsson versus Özdemir, main event in Sweden. Mark Madsen, Lando Venata co-main event. I'd be happy with that, and then somewhere else on the card, we could maybe sprinkle in a little bit of, and I'll get to it in a second. Maybe I'll jump to it right now while I'm on the topic. Big win from Alex Oliveira, but the loser of that bout, big win from Neil Magny, but the loser of that bout in Li Jingliang could take on a guy like Gunnar Nelson. I would love to see that fight. Maybe even Max Griffin versus Gunnar Nelson, but that could be another fight on the main card of the Sweden card. I'm looking forward to it. The UFC's going to Sweden in the late summer. I hope that it's a good card, and I hope that those fights are on there, but let's get back to the prelims where we belong, or where we just were. Sean O'Malley versus Jose Alberto Quinones. So Mark Madsen, Lando Venata, or Mark Madsen, someone fucking else. Austin Hubbard should be taking on a man by the name of Steve Garcia Jr. Sean O'Malley versus Jose Alberto Quinones. I love this fight. I love this fight, start to finish. Sean O'Malley put him... I'm going to make a full breakdown of Sean O'Malley's performance, but Jesus Christ, it was good. He didn't get touched in the entire fight. His next opponent needs to be a guy coming off a streak, because he's fought the guy who's got a nice record in the UFC of Jose Alberto Quinones, but isn't on a win streak right now. He's fought that guy. He's beat Terrion Ware, who was a bit of a journeyman as well. He's beaten Andre Sukumtar. You know, I almost couldn't get the fucking words out there, because that's not a most impressive win in the world. You've put 3 in a row together. Another guy who's put 3 in a row. Montel Jackson. Just beat Felipe Colares. Before that, he beat Brian Kelleher. I like his... And he also beat Andre Sukumtat as well. So they have similar opponents. It makes sense. The fight to make right now is Sean O'Malley versus Montel Jackson. The winner of that fight will earn their shot against a ranked opponent. But for now, O'Malley versus Montel Jackson is the fight I want to see next. And that's the fight that makes the most sense for me. Two streaking bantamweight contenders. There can only be one. Jose Alberto Quinones should probably take on a guy coming off a loss at bantamweight. I don't really give a fuck. If I'm honest with you guys, I don't care. Maybe he can take on Dana Batgarel, who got a big win on the early prelims. I don't fucking know. Jose Alberto Quinones got some thinking to do. He's 8-4 now. It's getting a little bit rough on the old record. A little bit of eyebrow raising going on about that record. 8-4, sorry. Sean O'Malley, 11-0. They're very different positions in their career, but I like Jose Alberto Quinones. I hope he bounces back. I don't give a fuck against who, to be honest with you. But Sean O'Malley should take on Montel Jackson. Main card. Alex Oliveira versus Max Griffin. I said Max Griffin should take on maybe Gunnar Nelson. That'd be a good fight to make. And Alex Oliveira, on the other hand, should maybe look for a contest against Mikael Pereira in a Brazil card in the summer of this year, or perhaps on International Fight Week. Alex Oliveira versus Mikael Pereira would be an amazing fight to make. Or Alex Oliveira versus Diego Lima. But I love the sound of Alex Oliveira versus Mikael Pereira so much that we need to make that fight immediately, straight away. Do you understand? Alex Oliveira versus Mikael Pereira needs to happen next. I think that's the fight that's going to happen next. It makes all the sense in the world. That's a great fight as well. So I look forward to it. Maybe in Brazil, that would be the best of all situations. So we'll see how the cards are structured. Otherwise, put it on the McGregor card. It'll be fun. You know, just make McGregor cards fun if you aren't going to stack them with big, huge names. Neil Magny versus Li Jingliang. I want to see Neil Magny make a quick turnaround and face Jeff Neal in International Fight Week. I know they're going to hold off Jeff Neal for a little while because Santiago Ponzinibbio doesn't fight anymore. He still wants to fight, but he just hasn't fought in a very long time, and it doesn't sound like he's going to be fighting anytime soon, and that was the opponent that I wanted to see Jeff Neal face. Now that he's out of the picture a little bit, Neil Magny versus the guy I just said, Jeff Neal, in International Fight Week, maybe on the McGregor card, maybe even on the main card of the McGregor card, because they're both ranked now. I'm sure Neil Magny's going to steal a spot at number 15, because that's where he was before. I think Neil Magny should take on Jeff Neal. That's the fight that makes sense to me. Li Jingliang, on the other hand, Gunnar Nelson is an option. Max Griffin is also an option. But another guy that's coming off a loss in the welterweight division is James Krause. That's also an option, and an option I would entertain very well. And Li Jingliang has a choice of opponents right now. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. We'll see what happens with the rest of the division. But I feel like Li Jingliang's just going to take some time off, because that performance was pretty shocking from Li Jingliang, in my opinion. Take some time off, evolve as a fighter, come back strong. Maybe they end up in China at the end of the year. Who knows? Beneil Dariush versus Drakkar Klose. Dariush needs a ranked opponent. I don't know which one he's going to get. I do. It's Diego Ferreira. Diego Ferreira versus Beneil Dariush needs to happen next, in my opinion. I'd love to see that fight. Diego Ferreira also, he got into the rankings against Anthony Pettis, which is a good win, but it's kind of lost a little bit of value recently, you know. So I'd like to see him take on another good contender, and that other good contender is Beneil Dariush, who's beaten Drew Dober. He just beat Drakkar Klose, who is another streaking contender, in a big performance on the feature fight of a huge card, where a lot of shine from this card was given to the lower positions because the main event was so shit. You know, the main event was so, like, death incentivizing, and you wanted to just blow your fucking brains out while watching. The rest of the card got a lot of good props and shine, and Beneil Dariush Drakkar Klose was an amazing fight. Drakkar Klose a dirty cheater, but he lost either way, so, you know, I guess he got his comeuppance. I'm not going to hold it against him. Beneil Dariush should be looking to take on Diego Ferreira, in my opinion. That would be a fight that makes a lot of sense to me. I think that's the fight they're going to go with next. I love the fight, and they should do it, because I can't think of anyone else in the lightweight division that kind of deserves a shot against Beneil Dariush. He's 18-4. He's now on a 4-fight win streak, all of which I believe coming by finish. Maybe all but one of them coming by finish. Big KO on the main card of a pay-per-view in the feature fight. I love it. Beneil Dariush should get a ranked opponent in Diego Ferreira. Make it happen. Right now, or there'll be consequences. Violence. From me and my army of people that will do things if I tell them to. They know who they are. Drakkar Klose, on the other hand, is going to have to take a little bit of a step backwards. I feel like that's a little bit, that's given. You know, he's definitely going to take a little step backwards. That was a bit of a tough loss to take, I'll be honest with you. He fell exactly the same way as Gregor Gillespie, so if they want to make that fight, that would be pretty cool. Either way, it was just a tough performance to get behind. You know, it was a tough one because that's something that you may not recover from. So it was kind of like a little awkward situation when we were seeing him out there. But a lightweight that I would love to see him take on next would perhaps be Magomed Mustafayev. Coming off a loss very recently, very similar schedules. I'd love to see him versus Mustafayev. That'd be a great fight to me. See if he can bounce back against a tough contender. Give it some time. Maybe bring them back at the end of the year when we go to Russia, when it's a little bit colder. That makes sense. We always go to Russia when it's cold. So let's just go to Russia at the end of the year when it's cold for Kevin Lee versus Islam Makhachev. Fingers crossed. And we'll do Drakkar Klose versus Magomed Mustafayev on the main card. Sounds good to me. Benil Dariush, Diego Ferreira. Brazil card. Weili Zhang versus Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Zhang should take on the winner of Namajunas versus Andrade, if it's Namajunas, and we'll see what happens in the meantime. But Namajunas, if she wins against Andrade, which it's likely, Andrade is coming off a bad KO loss. Namajunas had some time out to refocus herself. Maybe she comes back and wins. That would be the ideal situation. So this is a gamble. We'll see what happens with Namajunas versus Andrade. Namajunas, Weili Zhang, is all the sense in the world. Namajunas was champion. She beat Rose Namajunas. She beat her by KO. More impressively than Weili Zhang did in one of her performances against Joanna Jędrzejczyk. The second fight was very similar, to be honest with you. I think that's the fight that makes the most sense if Namajunas can beat Andrade. 100%. In the meantime, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, on the other hand, maybe, just maybe, and I'm going to check, to just double check here, really quickly, if you don't mind me. I'm just going to scroll to Sherdog because I'm a little bit unsure about something, and I just want to double check. Give me 1 second here. Give me 1 second here. She's only fought Jessica Andrade once. Okay. It was Gedalia that she fought twice. Jesus Christ, my memory's fucked. Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus the loser of Namajunas versus Andrade, if it's Andrade. This is the gamble one in the co-main event. We got Zhang taking on the winner of Namajunas. We got Joanna Jędrzejczyk taking on the loser of Andrade. Or, if Andrade wins against Namajunas, Joanna versus Tatiana Suarez makes the most sense as well. That's what we should do. Don't make the immediate rematch. Give them both one fight apart from each other to build their own selves and take their star power elsewhere to other cards. Then bring them back together for a huge rematch. It's the same situation with Dominic Reyes versus John Jones, except there was no robbery this time. Reyes should take a time off, fight one opponent, Thiago Silva or Santos. Gee, there's so many fucking Thiagos. Thiago Santos, Maheta. Jesus. Fight him, then go and fight John Jones. John Jones should fight maybe Blachowicz in the meantime. It builds rematches so well. Don't immediate rematch people. It makes no sense. Especially when the challenger lost. Like if Weili Zhang lost and it was a razor close fight, I maybe make the rematch. But Joanna lost. She's not the champion. Fuck off. You know, Weili Zhang versus Namajunas if she beats Andrade. Joanna versus Andrade if she loses to Namajunas. Fingers crossed that's what's happened. That's what happens. Israel Adesanya versus Yoel Romero. Oh, God. Adesanya versus Paulo Costa is the fight I want to see happen next. I'm sorry, I just had some real weird deja vu for a second there. I just got really tired for a second. Either way, Adesanya versus Paulo Costa is the fight I want to see happen next. That's all the hype in the world. Make it on International Fight Week. I don't know if it's going to be the main event or co-main event after that performance from Adesanya. I feel like Usman versus Masvidal might be the bigger fight to make. Who knows? Maybe we do Stipe versus DC Trilogy with Adesanya versus Paulo Costa as the co-main event. Who fucking knows? We've got so many champions and so many pay-per-view cards coming up. And we've got too many belts for pay-per-view cards. That's a good position to be in. We've got a big summer coming up. Let's see what happens. Maybe even delay it to August. I don't mind waiting a little bit longer for Adesanya. 5 months isn't really a long time. Adesanya versus Paulo Costa. Maybe do it in Brazil in August, in the summer. Make it its own card. I'd love to see that fight happen. Greatness. I love it. Good stuff. Adesanya versus Paulo Costa and Yoel Romero on the other hand. You bit of a fucking letdown. Should look to take on the winner of Jack Hermanson versus Chris Weidman. Yoel Romero, take some time off. Reconsider your career a little bit. Don't reconsider it. I'm not trying to shit on Yoel here. Sorry guys, I didn't mean to say it like that. Just sit back and plot. You know how guys when they're later on in their career, just sit back and see what's happening. See if you want to jump straight back in there because he didn't take a lot of damage. Or just see if you want to wait a month, see Weidman versus Hermanson, and then jump in there versus the winner. Who knows? Or maybe Yoel Romero versus Kelvin Gastelum, who still doesn't have an opponent and has no one to fight right now. Or Yoel Romero versus the winner of Jacare versus Uriah Hall. There's so many good fights to make with Yoel Romero. I hope he sticks around. For Adesanya though, Paulo Costa is the fight to make. Goodbye, thank you for watching. I've slowly sunk down as this video's gone on. Yeah, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button there. I will see you later. Goodbye. No, seriously, go. That was a good night of fights, man. I'm glad. We got great performances. Don't let it be soured by the main event. We got a great main card. We got great prelims. And for the early prelims, fuck it. Giga Chikadze maybe should take on Sean Woodson. Herbert Burns. One of those fights. Jamal Emmers, on the other hand, give him a featherweight coming off a loss, which might be the name of the loser of Mike Grundy versus Makwana Mirkani at UFC London. Keep him around for short notice fights. Who knows? Jamal Emmers, use him as a short notice guy to fill in for featherweight contests. And Dana Batgarel, said it before, maybe take on a guy like Journey Newson. Another bantamweight coming off a big win by first round KO. Good stuff. See you later, guys. I'm actually going now. I just forgot about the early prelims. I feel like I should give him a little bit of time. Fuck you.